You want your kids to look back and say, hey, remember that vacation we had in Bariloche or that vacation we had in the Amazon? And there's things about it that are magical, right? Like we all have that vacation magic, and we want to do that for our kids.
Hey there, and welcome to the Digital Nomad Family Podcast. This is the place where families who have or want to have a nomadic lifestyle come together to talk about the highs and lows that this life brings. We celebrate the joys and support each other in the hard. So, if you are a digital nomad family or will be in the future, this is the place for you. We're glad you're here.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Digital Nomad Family Podcast. My name is Marissa, and I am glad that you chose to turn this on. Anytime I'm recording a podcast, not anytime, that's an exaggeration, but many times as I'm recording these podcasts, I think, I wonder how people listen to them. And I know for me, I listen to podcasts many different places. I think the cool thing when you do something in a particular media, you consume that media. So for example, if you are a YouTuber, I think you tend to watch a lot of YouTube. If you are a podcaster, you tend to listen to a lot of podcasts. So I listen to a lot of podcasts. I think a fun episode would be like some of my favorite podcasts. And I do listen to a lot of travel podcasts. I listen to some homeschool podcasts because I homeschool. And so, yeah, I often wonder, how do you list, like when are you listening to podcasts? So for me, a lot of times when I'm in the kitchen, because I can just be cooking or doing dishes or something, and I don't have to see it, right? It's just, it's audio. So that's perfect. So I can be busy and not have to have my attention on a screen. Or like if I'm, my new favorite that I've learned, and this is going to sound so weird because I am a traveler, as you know, but I never got into podcasts while on the airplanes or anything. I always was like, oh, I have to download a movie or something. But on our last kind of quick travel, fast travel season here, I've really gotten into travel podcasts while traveling. And so, yeah, I know that sounds so weird, but I was always the kind of person that, oh, I need to have a movie or a show. And it never even crossed my mind to have a podcast downloaded. So yeah, I really got into podcasts while traveling instead of shows. And that's really convenient because you don't have to have your phone screen on. So for things like a dark bus or a red eye, you don't feel this like weirdness of, oh, is it like, how bright is my screen? And maybe some people don't worry about that. I really don't worry about that too much because I figure if people really want to sleep, they're going to sleep on a red eye. But it is really nice. Also, my phone currently, my poor phone. I've said many times, technology is not my strong suit. So just the fact of me having a podcast is funny. But I'm also, I wouldn't classify myself as careful. Like I'll take my phone, if I'm taking a shower, I'll take my phone into the bathroom, and it could be sitting maybe too close to a water source at one point. So I'm just not the most careful. If I'm cooking, I definitely have the recipe up on my phone. And so then I'll have dirty hands and I'm messing with my phone, or it's too close to the area where I'm actually doing the cooking or the baking. And so it does get dirty. Poor Eric, he puts up with me a lot with my phone. And currently my phone has two very distinct lines through it because the screen, like not the screen protector, the screen itself is broken. And I am going to get it fixed. It's one of those things like I can put up with it. And so I don't really want to put it into the budget of getting it fixed because here we're in Santiago right now. And so here to get it fixed is like anywhere from 95 to 120 US dollars. And I'm like, oh, it doesn't feel like it's that important of a thing to spend like 100 USD on. But because of these big significant lines on my phone, watching shows is kind of challenging. Like my eyes have gotten used to it, but it's definitely still hard sometimes. So a podcast is great. So I wonder, where do you listen to your podcast. I would love to hear that. You can either go over to Instagram and shoot me a message, or Family of Dashes over there, or you can send me an email. Both of those links are in the show notes. So yeah, I would just love to hear that. When do you listen to a podcast? Are you cooking? Are you exercising? Are you relaxing? What are you doing? Because everyone's different, and that's cool. So today we are talking about Bariloche. And this is the very first time that I've ever done something that I feel like I can label an itinerary. And if you've listened to this podcast probably 3 to 5 times, I think you're going to know I don't like to put one way onto people. And so I'll say things like, this is what works for my family. We did this. What did you do? Maybe this won't work for you. I really try to leave it open. And I feel like itineraries are so black and white that I don't love them. However, they're so popular online that there has to be a reason for that. So I thought, hey, I'll give it a go, see how it goes. If people respond to it well, maybe I don't know, people. I don't change that much. So I don't see myself getting on this itinerary bandwagon anytime soon. I'm definitely more of a, hey, here are my top 20 things to do in a city versus just giving an itinerary. I'd lean more that way and just giving a list and letting people make their own. But I also understand that not everyone is a planner and a researcher like I am. Like Eric would love to have someone give him an itinerary and go, here you go. In fact, that's what he does. Like, that's what I do, right? I'm the planner in the group. So maybe it's a personality thing. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how this goes. But today I'm going to give you a 5-day itinerary for Bariloche, Argentina. Now, please take all of this with a grain of salt. And I will say this is definitely for a family with older kids and teens. This is not a toddler-friendly itinerary. This is not even a little kid-friendly itinerary. I think if you have big kids into teenagers, this would be a good itinerary. So if you have little kids, I'm not going to be much help. And it's not because I don't care or anything like that. It's just we didn't do little kid things. We did teenager things. And so that's what this is going to be like. And so, but I do think you can still go to Bariloche with little kids. You just, maybe this itinerary is not for you. Not maybe. Full stop, this itinerary wouldn't be for you. So with that being said, I hope that you enjoy this 5-day itinerary for Bariloche. So as we go through each day, I'll kind of give input as to what my family did, how we did it, how it went, things I would have changed, things I loved. And yeah, we'll just go with the flow here as we usually do. So day 1 is the day you just get into the city. Our family arrived via bus and we got in around 5. Yeah, we got in around 5 in the afternoon. And so we got off the bus and then we took the public bus from the omnibus station into the center of town. And we just used public transportation to get in. A couple things if you are taking the bus into Bariloche. So we took the bus from Mendoza, Argentina to Bariloche. And just a few little tips. Make sure you have your SUBE card loaded and ready to go in order to take the bus from the omnibus terminal, the public bus from the omnibus terminal into wherever you need to go in the actual city. They sell SUBE cards. So a SUBE card it's just what Argentina calls their Metro card. That's all it is. So, and it works in most cities. It doesn't work in every city. SUBE cards don't work in Cordoba, but they worked in all the other 3 cities that we went to. So we were in Buenos Aires, Cordoba, Mendoza, and Bariloche. And Mendoza was the only town that our SUBE cards didn't work in. They have their own card. But there's no place to put money on your SUBE card at the omnibus terminal. So make sure it's loaded and ready to go. And heads up, the public busing in Bariloche is very expensive, like shockingly expensive. Each ride that we took was anywhere from like 1,800 Argentine pesos to 2,500 Argentine pesos per person per way. And so we're going to get down into a couple hikes and like some activities, maybe like a little outside of the city. And for each of those, you're going to want to budget roughly 2,500 per person per way. So about 5,000 Argentine pesos per person for the bus. So it is not a cheap city. So we'll just start with that. But all that to say, have your Sube card ready to go if you want to take the public bus from the omnibus terminal to your hotel, your Airbnb in the city. There was also a place for taxis, and the taxi prices were very reasonable. We took a taxi from our Airbnb back to the omnibus terminal when our time in Bariloche was over, and the prices were fantastic. I was very happy with them. So looking back, I think we did ask for a price for the taxi, but it seemed like, oh my gosh, that seems high, because we had just been in cheaper places with buses. Had I known how expensive the public transportation would have been, we would have totally taken a taxi, because then you can just go directly to your Airbnb. It was fine. It wouldn't have been a big deal whatsoever. But hey, hindsight is 2020, right? So I do think it's very reasonable to plan to use taxis in Bariloche. I can't speak into a taxi for some of the other trips that we did via bus, because we had already loaded a good amount on our Sube cards, and Bariloche was the last city we were going to be in to use our Sube cards in Argentina, and we wanted to use them. So I do think it would be worth asking a taxi, hey, how much to go out to this particular area, and I do think it's worth it, but that's kind of a side thing, if you will. And see, this is why I don't do itineraries, because it's like, look, we're supposed to be on day one, right? And I'm talking about public transportation. Oh, well, this is what you get. So day one, arrived at the city. Whether you come via air or land, I do think taxi would be a fine way to go. Or if you already have money on your Sube cards, take the public transportation. Then I would say just get to your Airbnb or your hotel, get your stuff there, settle in a little bit. I always do a lay of the land for our Airbnb. I did a series a long time ago on the show, and I talk about settling in, and I made even like a settling in, a getting settled in guide. And it just goes through about all the stuff that I look at when we get to a new Airbnb. And so I would suggest you do that. I can link to that episode in the show notes. And with that episode, if you go to that episode, you can download a settling in guide yourself. So that I think it's really helpful to just know in your head what your Airbnb has. So go there, get settled in, do a check-in with your Airbnb, and then I would encourage you to go out and walk. Get a lay of the land, look and see if there's any restaurants that really pique your interest, any sites that you want to make sure that you see. And I would just use that first time as hey, we're just going to get our bearings here in this new town. We like to do dinner in the first night only because it does help save some money. So that's a us thing. I will say restaurants in Bariloche are pretty expensive. It's an expensive city. We knew it was going to be expensive going in, which is why we were only there for a week. And so yeah, for us it was totally a vacation, and so we viewed it as a vacation. So, and when you're on vacation, you do eat out at restaurants a little bit more usually, and that's okay. But we do like to eat in the first night for a couple reasons. One, it does help save money. So then if we do see a restaurant while we're out and about, it's like, okay, well, let's save a little bit tonight. Let's eat at the house tonight. And then we can continue to get our bearings the next day. And maybe we find something even better, or we realize, hey, that place is really overpriced. And it just helps if you just wait one day before jumping into a restaurant. Now, if you absolutely have to eat at a restaurant, eat at a restaurant. I'm not going to tell you what restaurants to eat at. I have one restaurant that I'm going to get to later. Oh, two. Sorry, I have two restaurants that I'm going to get to later that I would encourage you to eat at. But I don't think either of them are a first night, just get a meal type restaurant. So, just look around. Then I think it's a really fun idea to pick a new movie to do a family movie night on that first night, because there's something about vacation and to our family. And if you're listening to this, you are either a nomadic family or a traveling family, or you're going to understand where I'm coming from. Going to a new place in and of itself doesn't constitute vacation. When we were living a rooted life, just the idea of getting out of our town, that was enough. And that was great. It's not that way anymore. We get to new towns all the time. And so just the act of going someplace new is not enough anymore. So as a full-time traveling family, Eric and I, we do need to be a little bit more intentional to make, just to create space for special moments so that the kids do feel like, oh, we actually are on vacation. It's not just, oh, we're in a new place and we're not doing school, right? Like, the kids don't do school and we're on vacation. But it's more than that. You want your kids to look back and say, hey, remember that vacation we had in Bariloche, or that vacation we had in the Amazon? And there's things about it that are magical, right? Like, we all have that vacation magic, and we want to do that for our kids. So I think picking a movie, even if you have to rent it or buy it, and you just put that in your budget, right, is a really fun thing to do to kind of kick off the vacation night and make sure it's one that everyone really wants to see. Maybe it's one that just came out. So this trip, we watched the Wild Robot. We didn't watch it on the first night, but we did watch it later in the week. I wish we would have watched it on the first night to kind of kick off vacation well, but we didn't. But I would encourage you, do something like a family movie night, but also then go out to the grocery store and get some ice cream and a few toppings and have an ice cream bar or a cookie bar or something, or let everyone pick some candies and have a candy bar, whatever you want to do, just to make it special, to kind of kick off this, hey, we're on vacation now, people. And I just think that's a really fun way. It's a decently inexpensive way to create a special moment, have some vacation magic with your kids. So that's day one. Day two is biking. Now I have so many things I want to say about biking, and honestly, I will probably do, I don't know if I will or not. There's the potential that I'll do an entire episode just on our biking experience, but there is a route, and I don't remember the name of it. It's like, I don't know, the small circuit is what it translates to in English. And it's very, very popular. You will see it as you are thinking of, like, if you Google things to do in Bariloche, Argentina, it'll come up. And there are two bike shops right at the start of this. And the small circuit if you're looking at a map of Bariloche, it is a little bit to the west. So you are outside of town. And so you're going to take bus number 20 almost all the way out, not quite all the way out, but you will put, like, there's the bike rental store is immediately at a stop. So you'll just put the bike rental place in your Google Maps, and the bus stops right in front of it. So you'll just get off where Google Maps tells you to get off. It's super basic. And there are two bike rental places. We used both of them because the one right at the bus stop will only rent to 14 and above. And the other one, which is a storage, it honestly is, it's a storage container and they have bikes in it. I think they saw, hey, that bicycle place is doing really good. Let's jump in on that, because it's a hostel. And so the hostel just rents the bikes, but they're just regular bikes. So what the small circuit is, it's this circuit, and it goes, and it's on a road, and it just goes through a national park down there. And it's beautiful views. It's fantastic. And I would say if your youngest is 12, then you can do it, as long as they're like a more athletic 12. So how we did it is Eric and our daughter Riley got e-bikes from the e-bike place. I got a regular bike. Martin, Stoyanka, and Ryan also got regular bikes. And the logic was this. Eric was like, hey, I need an e-bike because just physicality. Riley does not love physical activity. And so she knew having an e-bike is going to make it way more enjoyable for her. And I said, yes, I agree on both those counts. Martin and Stoyanka opted for a regular bike because they were just concerned that handling the e-bike might be a little too much for them. Just a lot going on. And so they were like, it makes me nervous to be on a road that I don't know doing this. This was our very first biking experience. So doing our very first biking experience and adding an e-bike into the mix, they felt like that might overwhelm them a little bit. And I said, that's fine, whatever you have to do. Ryan had to get a regular bike. And so with that logic, I said, well, then I'm going to get a regular bike, because if Ryan needed to stop and walk up the hills, I didn't want to be pushing an e-bike because e-bikes are heavier than regular bikes. And I was like, there's no sense to be pushing a really heavy bike. So knowing that, that's what influenced our decisions for us four to get a regular and Eric and Riley to get e-bikes. So I will say, if you feel like your youngest is athletic, can handle, they are very big hills. There's not like an elevation map anywhere that I can find, but I'm just telling you this, they're big hills. I struggled a good amount on my regular bike. I really wish I would have had an e-bike. Ryan killed it. The kid biked the entire time. I think there was only one time he had to get off, actually. So it was outstanding. But even with all of that, we opted, when we got there, we were talking to the people at the e-bike place, and they showed us kind of an alternative route, if you will, to even the small circuit. And so if you go up, and then there's a restaurant, we'll talk about the restaurant in a minute. You go up to the restaurant, and then you go a little ways past the restaurant. Then there's a road that goes to the left. This is a gravel road, but it's only for like a mile. I think even less than a mile. It's like 3.3 kilometers. So it's less than a mile. Or no, it's a little more than a mile. I had my things messed up there. I'm still trying to learn kilometers to miles. I'm really good with like centimeters to inches, and I'm good with 24-hour time to 12-hour time, and I'm good with Fahrenheit to Celsius and vice versa. But kilometers and miles is still what I'm trying to get people. So any tips, I would love to hear them. So it was 3.3 kilometers. So whatever that is in miles. And so you have that bit of a gravel road. And then there is a Swiss, they call it a Swiss village. It definitely is like a touristy area. It was closed while we were there. You can still go through it because it's just roads, but all the tourist attractions weren't open, which is fine because we didn't care about the tourist attractions. But so we took that road, that gravel road to the left, and then took that 3.3-ish kilometers down to the Swiss village. And then the Swiss village drops you back onto the main small circuit. And then you just go back. And so that was perfect for us. We got the bikes at around 10 o'clock and we were back by about 5, a little before 5, because the e-bikes have to be back by 5 and the regular bikes have to be back by 6, because regular bikes take a little bit longer. And so it was an amazing experience. And it was one of those things that as we were doing it, the kids were all saying, this is the best thing we've ever done. Like every single kid, hands down, said, this is the best thing we've done. And so I have zero regrets about doing it. We did have some, hiccups. We did have some hiccups. We had a major wardrobe malfunction. I won't say which kid, but one of the kids, their pants actually totally split. And so you don't want your pants to split while you're sitting on a bike pedaling. Like that just leads to just chafing, and it's just not nice. And so that was uncomfortable for them. Other than that, everyone had a good time. But even with the pants ripping, that child admits it was so much fun. It was just frustrating to have that happen. Um, I would highly recommend this, but you really do need to know the physical level of your group. Um, and you have to go with that. If you do the small circuit biking, you have to eat at the Patagonia Brewing restaurant. The food was really delicious. It was expensive, which is to be expected. The beer, out of this world good. But the views are what just get you. So I would encourage you. I'm gonna link their website in the show notes. If you go down there, please make a reservation. I know it's kind of hard because you're like, what time are we gonna get there? That is tricky, but just you could always reach out to them and just tell them, hey, we're biking from here to you guys, or you can just put in your Google Maps that, like, just drop a pin at where you pick the bikes up and then drop another pin at Patagonia Brewing and see what Google says as far as how long it will take the bike there. And then you're going to want to add some, I would add probably at least 20 minutes from just because one, unless you have e-bikes, then you're not going to struggle on the hills. But one, you're going to struggle on the hills. But two, there is what people say is the best lookout on the entire small circuit is before the Patagonia Brewing restaurant. So we stopped there for quite a while. We had a picture taken. I think it's on our Instagram. You can go over and see it. And it was just beautiful. And we sat there for quite a while. It's on top of a hill. As you can see, like, you're looking down over everything. So you are tired and you're like, oh my goodness, thank God we're done. And so you do want to take a break, but also just the beauty of it is jaw dropping. So you do want to sit there and just admire it and take your pictures and everything. So you're going to want to, I would say if you're on an e-bike, add 30 minutes. If you're on a regular bike, you might want to add maybe 45, depending on what your physical level is. But you definitely eat at the Patagonia restaurant. It breaks up the time. It helps to just take a break, especially with kids. And it was just so nice to not have to worry about taking food out and anything like that, and just know, hey, you're going to eat here. It was great. And just sitting, they have an outdoor patio that you sit on. Oh my word, just gorgeous, gorgeous views. So if you feel like that is just not in the cards for you, if you feel like no, biking is not, no, it won't work for us. Another idea is you could take bus number 20 to, it's called Cerro Campanerio. And this is a cable car. There's two cable cars. I don't remember the name of the other one. There's one really close to town. But Campanerio is a little bit outside of town. It is before, it's, I think, a few stops on bus 20 before the bikes. But you'll take it out. You'll just put in Google that word, Cerro Campanario, if I'm saying it right. My Spanish is still not great, guys, even after a year of Spanish school. Now, we had planned to go here. We got on the bus, we got off here, we walked up to it, and it was closed. There was nothing online about it being closed. There was nothing in town about it being closed, nothing. While we were there, many other people also came. They got off the bus. They had taxis bringing them out. They were in their personal vehicles, and everyone was shocked that it was closed. So sadly, I can't tell you, it didn't look like it was going to be closed for long, but I would say, I don't know, just hope that it's open when you go. It definitely just looked like they were doing some maintenance, and we were there in off season, so they were probably just getting it ready, but it was disappointing. But this is a really great place to go because two things. There's a cable car option that you can take to the top if you feel like hiking is out of the plans for you, but there is also a trail. And from what I've read online and from what I could see, the trail is not insane. It takes anywhere from half an hour to 45 minutes. And they do say that the top has some steep parts to it, which I believe, looking at the mountain, but not ridiculously steep, not so steep that I think you would need any type of special equipment. But if it's really dry, it could be a little slippery, so just be careful. Um, so you can choose, like, do you want to take the cable car up, or do you want to take the uh, trail? And there's a cafe on the top. So you can plan to walk up, you can plan to get a little something to eat, to drink, and just have a nice time enjoying the views up there. The views look outstanding, and I was really disappointed that they had both the trail and the cable car closed while we were there, and so many people were disappointed. But hopefully, it won't be closed when you go to Bariloche. So that is what I would say to do if you feel like biking isn't good. Come on out here. It's going to give you gorgeous views. You get a cafe, you get that fun experience. Definitely check it out. So that takes us, and then go home on both of those things and do a very easy dinner. Either go out to eat if you enjoy going out to eat, definitely go out to eat, or you just eat something very, very, very easy at home. And so if you were to go out to eat, a really great restaurant, I'm going to link it in the show notes. There is a fondue restaurant, and this could be a fun night to do that, depending on how hungry you are and how many people you are. So we went and we got fondue, and I think there's a couple different nights you could do fondue, but we had never done fondue as a family. And we thought this would be, hey, we're on vacation. Let's do this fun thing. We know it's going to be a little on the pricey side, but let's do it. And I'm so glad we did. We had such a fun time just sitting there relaxing. We went to a smaller restaurant, and I don't remember the name of it, but I'll link it. I'll put it in the show notes. And there's another one on the main tourist drag that does fondue, but it was always just so crowded, and we didn't want that. We like smaller restaurants. And so we went there, and it was delicious. It was a little pricey, but you planned for that. And so I would definitely encourage you to do fondue. And the fun thing about it is Bariloche has a lot of Swiss influence because it kind of does feel like the Alps a little bit. And so you have like the chocolate and you have the fondue, and some of the architecture feels very Swiss. And so it's just a fun thing to do. So I think this could be a good night to do a fondue dinner. Day 3. Look, guys, we're almost done. We're getting there. Day 3 is your chocolate tour. Now, I just last week put out an episode about how to do your own tour. So I talk about our chocolate tour in that episode. So if you haven't listened to that one, definitely go check it out. And we had so much fun. We went to 8 different chocolate shops, and I talk all about it in the last episode, so I'm not going to explain how we did it, but we did our chocolate tour. How we did it was we slept in, we woke up a little later, we had a brunch, and then we went out for our chocolate tour. And we spent about 3 to 4 hours doing this, which I know sounds crazy, but you're meandering and we also took some time to pop in anytime we saw a little like touristic type shop. We went in because Ryan was looking for something and Eric was looking for something. I don't remember what. Man, you would think I should plan more for these things, huh? But they were looking for a couple things, so we took advantage of just a nice leisurely time. But it was so much fun. A little tip I will say is make sure you bring water, because it's an expensive enough city, and so the last thing you want to spend your money on is water. I don't know how you guys are, but that's me at least. So, and chocolate just has this effect to make you thirsty. So definitely make sure you have some water when you're doing your chocolate tour. And so we went to our 8 different places, and again, it was like around 3 to 4 hours that we spent doing this. So, I mean, by the time, like after we left home for brunch, it was getting close to eat dinner again. So we actually just went to a grocery store and picked up some food and ate at home. I think this is the night we watched our movie, if I remember right. And it was so much fun this day. It was amazing. And I know you might be thinking, all you did on this day was eat chocolate. Yes, that's all we did, is we ate chocolate. One thing that we didn't do that I wish I would have known the price of, so I knew about this activity, but I didn't know the price, is inside one of the chocolate shops. It is named Rapanui. or something like that, Rapa Nui, is an ice skating rink. And I'll put their website in the show notes as well. And I knew that it had an ice skating rink, but I couldn't find anywhere about prices. And so while we were there, and you have to be careful saying prices on things like this because this podcast is evergreen, meaning it's going to last, but these prices aren't. So when we were there in October of 2024, it was roughly 35 US dollars per person for an hour. And had I known about that, and Eric and I could have like looked at our budget and like talked about it and gone, okay, we're gonna do this chocolate tour, and we're gonna strategically place this one kind of maybe in the middle, take a little break, and let the kids ice skate. I just think that would have been such a fun surprise for them. And I wish we would have known the price on it so we could budget, but we just didn't. So we didn't budget for it. So then it wasn't in the budget because $35 is not cheap for an hour for something. Like it's just not. Like I don't care how much money you have. $35 to just go out on slippery water for an hour is expensive. Now that does give you your all the rental stuff. It's all included for that about 35 USD. Again, in October 2024. But still, and we have 4 kids. So it wasn't in the cards for us to just randomly decide to do it. But hopefully this will help you make the decision if you can do it for your family. I would encourage you to do it, to save up a little bit and do it, because I just think adding that to the chocolate tour would have made it just vacation magic right there. It would have been really fun. And Eric and I would have like got a cup of coffee and, taken our coffee while the kids were skating. And there's a big wall of windows, and you can see in, and the kids could have been skating and we could have been having our coffee, and it would have just been perfect. Like I can see it in my mind's eye. It just wasn't in the cards. But I hope you put it in your cards. Like, please, please, please. So that is day 3. I do think this is another night you could opt to go out depending on how hungry you were. We were not that hungry because we had just eaten a good amount of chocolate. And so we just wanted something basic. I think we did sandwiches, honestly. It was like nobody wanted anything. So we just did sandwiches for dinner, and that was great. Day 4 is hiking. And this is what we did when we got to the cable car place and we realized it was all closed. And so we had heard about this hike already, and Eric and I were debating, do we want to do the cable car or this hike? And we opted for the cable car. We got there, it was closed. Thankfully, to get to the hike, you take the same bus out. So wasn't a big deal. We actually ended up walking from where the cable car is to the e-bike place, because it's all like one line. Like all of the naturey stuff, not all, but a lot of the naturey stuff is just on one road. And so it's bus 20. You're just going to be on bus 20 to get out. And so we walked, because at the bike rental place, there's like a food truck rally area. And so we walked up there and we got some pizzas and some amazing sandwiches. And Eric and I grabbed a beer and we just had a nice relaxing lunch there. And then we jumped back on the bus to keep going out. So we jumped back on bus 20 to keep going out. If you take bus 20 all the way to the end, you're going to be at there's a golf course and hotel, and you have to get off the bus. And so you get off the bus and you just keep walking up the road. The road turns a little bit to the right, and then you're going to be walking. You'll see a golf course. It's amazing. There's a national park, and you're just walking like past the national park. And you keep walking for about 15 minutes. And on your left will be another national park, like an entrance type area. It's very obvious. It's also on Google. And so you walk to there, and it is about a 15-minute walk. And the only way you can get there is either walking or if you have a car. And we didn't have a car, so we just did the about 15-minute walk from the bus stop to the park. And then the park is totally free. And then there is a small little walk to go down, and then there's a and we saw this amazing lake, and just it was surrounded by mountains, and the lake was crystal clear, and there were these trees that had fallen into the lake. You could climb out on them, and so the kids just had a ball climbing on these fallen trees and like being over the water. And we just spent maybe half an hour, 20 to 30 minutes down there just enjoying. Just the air is so clean, and especially after having been in Buenos Aires, and then we were in Cordoba when there were major wildfires in the area, and so the breathing was just not good. And then we get over to Mendoza, and it's just, we're just city, city, city. And so then you get to Bariloche, and you just breathe, and it smells like pine and like just fresh, crisp air. It was just amazing. And so you can keep walking within this national park, and they have maps. That's all we did. All we did was down to the little lake, and you can see it on their maps there. It's not a long hike, but I think it's perfect for families. And something I would do before you go on this hike is go to Mamushka chocolate shop. It's a big Russian doll, like Russian nesting doll is like their like not logo, but it's like a big symbol that they have. And it's called Mamushka chocolate shop. And there you can get calafate chocolates. And calafate is a fruit that is native to the Patagonia region. And legend says if you eat calafate while you're in Patagonia, you are destined to return to Patagonia at some point in your life. And so Eric and I had bought some of the calafate chocolates from Mamushka, and we took them with us. And we actually ate them when we discovered that the cable car was closed. We ate them then just to kind of lift spirits, and so it worked out really well for us. But I wish that like we would have been down in this wonderful, gorgeous valley with a lake and eaten them there, because I mean we just ate them on the side of the road. But it did lift spirits, so it was really convenient that we had them. But doing it, the plan was to do it at the top of our climb, right? But that didn't work out, and that's okay. You have to be flexible, right? I have to be flexible with these things. But get some calafate chocolate. They're like little like bonbon type looking things. You'll see them if you just go in and ask for like calafate. They know what you want. But go ahead, get everyone a couple of those and eat them while you're on one of your hikes, and explain to your kids, hey, like only eat this. That's what we told our kids. We were like, hey guys, only eat this if you feel like you want to come back to Patagonia. And then they're instantly shoving it in their mouth because all 4 of our kids loved Patagonia. I definitely think we're going to go back there at some point in our lives. So we did that on that day. And then this could be another night that you could do fondue. I do think it is a fun little thing to do fondue while you're in Bariloche, just because it is very like Swiss vibey. So go back, like once you're done hiking, you have to walk back down to the bus stop. And then you'll just take the bus in, and it will be probably a little bit later. So if you want to either plan to do an easy dinner, like sandwiches or pasta or something like that, or this is a really good day to go out to dinner, unless people are super tired and they just want to be at home. You have to balance that, right? Like if you're doing something really physical, like if you go biking, then it's the question is, do people actually want to go, or are they going to be, I mean, it is a very physical thing, especially if you're on a regular bike. So then you have to go, hey, do you guys want to go out, or do you want to just stay here and eat something here at the house? There's no right or wrong. It's just whatever works for your family. See, I'm not great at itineraries, people. Okay, so day 4, you go hiking, you eat your calafate chocolate, you get back, maybe you do some fondue, or you go out to another like German restaurant. Amazing options there. Then day 5 is going to be a little more chill because you've done some biking, you've done some hiking, right? You've done chocolate eating. So what we did on this day, and it's not like exactly, like I'm not giving you verbatim what we did, but roughly, is an escape room. And this was our very first time doing one, and it couldn't have been better. if I like, I know like there's been things I'm like, oh, I wish we would have done this. I wish we would have done, like between the ice skating and the calafate and like all this stuff. I don't want you to think that I didn't have a great vacation in Bariloche. I did. Uh, but the escape room could not have been more perfect because the level that it was set at was perfect for our family. It was challenging enough that we didn't just fly through everything, but it was simplistic enough that all the kids at some point did something to move us along. And it was just watching them work together and watching them all have a moment of, oh, good job, and encouraging each other was really, really great. I'll have the website linked down below again, because I can't remember all the names for these places, people. I can't be bothered to remember names. But their rooms can be set up in English. And so maybe not all of their rooms, but I know for sure they're, at the time that we went, and this is October 2024, they had two options that they gave us for English. One of them was like a science type thing, and the other was a cabin. And we chose the cabin because we felt like, oh, this is, it's what am I trying to say? It's the mountains, it's Patagonia. We have to go cabin, right? And we absolutely loved it. You'd get 2 hints at this place. We ended up using one of our hints, and as soon as we got that hint, we were done. We solved it immediately. And it was just so fun. I want to take a minute and talk about why we chose to do an escape room, because a lot of people are going to be like, you were in Patagonia and you took your kids to an escape room. And I'm like, yes, and I have no regrets. And I would encourage other full-time traveling families to do it as well. Here's why. One, we had never done it before. And so it creates that vacation magic, right? Like in our everyday life, we don't go to escape rooms. In our everyday life, we do school and we go grocery shopping and we make dinner and we do very boring things. If I were to make a podcast about the Dinglers' everyday life, you would never listen to it again. It would be one episode and it would have 0 stars, 0 anything. It would be bad. And so to create that vacation magic, we wanted to do stuff that isn't typical for us. And we've never done an escape room before. And I think that is something, as a traveling family, you do need to take into consideration when you're doing things like a vacation. Because this takes us back to what I said at the top of this episode. Just going to a new city isn't enough. Just being in a new house isn't enough. Sometimes just the act of being in a hotel room isn't enough. I remember when I was a kid, just the act of being in a hotel room, I was instantly in awe. My kids aren't that way, and I have to acknowledge that. And so doing something that was different, that we had never done before, that the kids were excited to do, that was on their level, that after all the physical stuff we had done in the week wasn't this physical thing, it was perfect. Because you have to remember, they're still kids and they want to do these fun things. And so I am so glad we did it. Also, it was only $8 per person, because the more people you have, the price is a little bit lower. And if you pay in cash, the price is a little bit lower. So it worked out well for us because there were 6 of us. So that took the price down a little bit. And then we paid in cash. So that took the price down a little bit. So it was $8 per person. Even if it would have been $10 per person, that is an amazing price for an escape room. Amazing. So I'll gladly take that any day. Some other things that I would encourage you to do. So I remember we're on a 5-day itinerary, right? So something else I would encourage you to do, if you haven't already, walk to the old church. It's not old. It's like, it was made, I think, like in the, what was it, the 40s. So it's really not that old, but it does look really cool inside. So walk to the church, check it out, walk along the water one more time, just get your nice walks in, take in the view. And then make sure you get any souvenirs. So if you want to get any chocolate, we were not impressed, and you can come at me for that. You can send me hate. We didn't buy any extra chocolate and everyone in Argentina was like, oh, the chocolate. We didn't find it that amazing. And we went to 8 different places to try. Take with that what you will. I don't know maybe we're just like, really, we don't like good chocolate. Maybe it's just too good for us. We'll go with that. The chocolate there is too good for us, and we just want like Hershey bars. So get any souvenirs, start to pack, and depending on when you leave, you might want to do an early night. So we didn't have to worry about an early night because we had a later bus. So on our last day, we did like a dinner out and it was fine. But that's what I would encourage you to do on that last day. And yeah, that's my 5-day itinerary for Bariloche, Argentina. If you have any questions, please shoot me an email because, again, I don't love to do itineraries because I don't love to say, oh, this is what you should do XYZ on these days. I much prefer saying, here's the 20 best things of a city. Take with it what you will, manage it how you will. But we'll see how this goes. If you have any questions about anything I talked about, just shoot me an email and I would be happy to answer it. The email is in the show notes below. And that's it. We're going to be done. I hope that you are doing well. I hope that your family is doing well. And as always, I hope you continue to travel joyfully.